The WCHA playoffs Friday in Duluth. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
You can always continue the conversation on social media. Share your thoughts when you find and follow Civic Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. Cloudy tonight, a few showers around and lows in the mid-30s. And areas of rain for tomorrow, mainly in the afternoon, a high to the mid-40s. The wind starts to pick up tomorrow night, rain changing to snow Wednesday.
Folks, well, that's going to increase unemployment. That's going to have an impact on the economy. The government buys farmers' goods for the USAID and no more USAID. Well, this thing's going to rot in the field. What happens to the prices? What happens to the farmers? What is the point here? It just seems like these are just such amateur decision-making, wasting our taxpayer dollars by wasting people's time.
The Dom Salvia Show, weekdays from 4 till 6 on the Civic Media Radio Network and on the Civic Media app.
We are the keepers of the wild. For more than 80 years, we've been committed to conserving the natural landscapes that define our nation. Nothing is more important than maintaining wild spaces for adventurers to explore and wildlife to thrive. We are America's hunters and target shooters. Together with firearm, ammunition, and archery manufacturers, we've supported the conservation of more than 36 million acres of American wildlands. For more information, visit outdoorstewards.org.
Jane Matnair and Greg Bach.
Coming up on the show, we all want clean drinking water. What about road salt? What happens with that? We'll kick that around tomorrow, don't
Broadcasting live from the Civic Media Studios in Green Bay, this is Nite with Pete Schwaba, your inside source on everything entertainment from Wisconsin to Hollywood.
Whatever gets you through the night, it's all right, it's all right.
And now, a guy who loves the sin but hates the sinner, Pete Schwaba.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Nite with Pete Schwaba. I am your host, Pete Schwaba. Great to have you with me on this Monday night where we start our countdown for the next Oscar broadcast, which is just 364 short days away, ladies and gentlemen. Did you watch? I did. I love movies. I love to watch movies. I like to watch the Oscars. I didn't always watch them, but I did watch them last night. I watched them last year. As the years go by, I find myself watching the entire broadcast more. It's fun to watch with a group, kind of like the Super Bowl. 1 billion people joined me last night in watching the Oscars. Were you one of them? Let me know. Let me know what your thoughts were about the broadcast, about some of the winnings or people who maybe got snubbed. Did you think there was a surprise? Did you have no interest? You can share all of this stuff at 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Phone lines are open. Let me know what you thought of the Oscars. We'll be joined at 6:35 by one Matt Miller, Milwaukee-based film critic who we have on this show quite frequently to do a deep dive into the broadcast. Lots to talk about, too. There was Conan O'Brien as the host. There was some kind of crazy, weird James Bond tribute. The In Memoriam segment was always, that's a staple at the Oscars. A couple snubs there we'll talk about. Adam Sandler made a crazy surprise appearance. Timothée Chalamet showed up. I want to cheer for this guy, but I don't know what he was doing with that yellow outfit. Don't you have enough attention? You're an Oscar nominee in the Best Actor category. You're a young guy. You had 2 films that were nominated for Best Picture, and you show up wearing that? That just screams like, I need more attention. Really strange. But we'll talk about all things Oscar over the course of the night. We'll talk about Adrian Brody's really long acceptance speech, which is ironic because he was in The Brutalist, which was almost 4 hours. And I muscled through that yesterday before the broadcast. You see The Brutalist, Conrad?
I did not.
Awful. Did not like it. I would give Razzies to The Brutalist and The Substance. The Substance was just terrible, in my opinion. The Brutalist was just long and sort of self-indulgent. It looked cool. The acting was great, but We'll talk about all of that with Matt Miller. He's going to be here to help us do a deep dive into last night's broadcast. And then at 7:35, this is exciting. We have the chair of the musical theater department at UW Stevens Point, who's going to be here talking about their big spring play, Pirates of Penzance, that those of you who live in Wisconsin Rapids, Wausau, Plover, Stevens Point, it's all right there. Beautiful facility, gorgeous theater, and you can still catch Pirates of Penzance. I know this coming weekend, possibly the weekend after too. Not 100% sure about that, but we will talk with our guest, Mark Hansen, about that and how you can catch this great show by these up-and-coming musical theater future professionals. We'll talk about that at 7:35 with Mark Hansen. Riding shotgun, as usual, is the lovable producer, Conrad.
Hello.
How's it going, buddy?
It's going good. It was a really nice day. How about that?
Yeah. It was a great day to stay inside and just kind of hang out a little bit.
I had the windows open. Got outside for a little bit today. Took a little walk. It was great.
I was inside. I had a lot of work to do, and I thought, I don't know what it's going to take for me to get outside. The last 3 gorgeous days, I've stayed inside and just kind of worked on the show, worked on some other stuff, made some phone calls. We have a little bit of business here we have to get to. The other night, Friday, we got Tom from Jackson sent us a text right as we were going off the air. And he said, what is the name of the restaurant? And that was in Door County, I believe we were talking about, where our musical guest, Laura Sawaska, worked. And I don't know that we asked Terry that, Tom. If I had seen your question, I would have asked her. I don't know that she knew, actually. But we could try to find that out.
It was a diner, wasn't it?
Yeah, on Washington Island?
Yes.
So, yeah, we'll have to try to find that out. I would love to go see her. She sounds fantastic. Loved the song Terry brought Friday night for Bar Band Friday night. Always fun. And then we got another text, too. Bud. I got Bud confused with Brian from Milwaukee, I think.
You did, yes.
Bud is the one who listens from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. when we're on the repeat. The recast, the rebroadcast, if you will. Bud from Janesville tuned in and says, hi, guys. I deliver newspapers in Madison, and I appreciate the shout-out. By the way, I deliver papers from a truck. So he is a truck driver. I knew I wasn't crazy.
You got that right.
Glad we could keep you company, Buck. Bring the news, Buck. I got Oscars in the brain because I had a joke about, never mind. But keep listening. Happy we keep you company. Keep delivering the papers. I assume it's newspapers. Do we still have newspapers? I hope so. But thanks for listening, buddy. And text anytime. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got our guests. Matt Miller, 6:35. Mark Hansen from UW Stevens Point at 7:35. And that brings us, in honor of the Oscars, to our question of the night.
Let's talk about the question.
Okay, question.
Question.
Pregunta.
Question.
Hey, I have a question. Questions?
This question.
Domanda.
Question.
Questions.
What is your best picture from last year? What film would you give an Oscar to? Let me know. I mean, I know you guys, over the course of the year, saw at least one movie. And that would have to be your Oscar winner, because that's what I'm asking. What is your best picture from last year? What film would you give an Oscar to? 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. That's a good question. And I'm going to have to actually think about that. I kind of spent all this time coming up with the question because I wanted it to be best picture related, and now I'm kind of... What did you see? You only saw Dune 2, right?
No, that's the movie I didn't see.
Oh, that's the movie you didn't see.
I'd give it to The Fall Guy.
You can show yourself out.
I'm kidding. I actually...
Well, if that's the only picture you saw, okay.
No, I would actually give it to The Challengers. That movie I really...
that was a good movie, yeah.
Really liked that
That's a great
movie.
choice.
Yeah.
Okay. Different, innovative, cool. I admit I'm getting swept up in the Honora buzz. Sean Baker, he wasn't even on my radar until a guest recently said, what have you seen of Sean Baker's or something to that effect? And I started watching Sean Baker films. I had heard of The Florida Project for a couple years, and it was on my list of things to watch. Never watched it. And then when the guest said that, I can't remember who it was, I watched The Florida Project. Loved it. One of the sweetest, kind of sad, but one of the sweetest endings I've ever seen in a film. Willem Dafoe was great. And I watched Tangerine, Red Rocket, or Red Rooster? Red Rocket, and Honora. And I have to be honest, I don't even think Honora is Sean Baker's best film. But Hollywood loves this guy. And for him to go on a tear like he did last night, I think they were nominated for 6 Oscars and they won 5. That was the big story last night, was Honora. Let me know if you saw Honora. I liked it. I'm surprised it won, but having seen The Brutalist now, which I did not like, I don't know what else. I don't know what I would have picked. But I would say last year, or at least of the films I saw this year, I might have liked A Complete Unknown the best. Conclave was good. Best picture I saw all year, though. I will get back to you. Let me know what you guys think, though. What's the best film you saw all year? What would you give an Oscar to? 855-752-4842. You can text us on the app. Really easy to use if you haven't downloaded it. Check it out. There's a little text icon right next to whatever station you are listening to, because we are on statewide. So you just click the text icon and fire away, or you can call us. You can also text us on the stream. Conrad, how can people watch the radio?
Yeah, so on Facebook, it's WISS, WGBW, or Nightlight with Pete Schwaba. On YouTube, it's Civic Media or WGBW. And on Twitter, Civic Media or WGBW.
And I've got a great shirt on tonight, folks. I'm wearing one of my favorite shirts. So if you do watch on the stream on YouTube or whatever the outlets Conrad just said, you're going to get to see me in a really slick-looking shirt. If that's not enough to get you to the stream, I don't know what is. But join us any way you can. Just join us. Be part of the show. Today is National Irish Whiskey Day.
Yeah.
Man, that makes me thirsty. I'm on like month 27 now with no booze, other than the occasional Blue Moon has like 0.25 alcohol in it or something. Now, I do drink 100 of those to catch a buzz. That might be a problem. But no, International Irish Whiskey Day. Do you like Irish whiskey? I don't know if I was into it at your age.
No, I'll take the occasional shot during March because, getting festive. But I don't really like it in drinks or just by itself.
You know what's weird? I used to drink Jameson when I was your age. That's what we would do. If we were at the bars or even when I was younger, we would do a shot of Jameson. A shot.
Ugh.
Like, if you're just going to get drunk, drink the cheapest crap there is. You don't down good Irish whiskey. And I think there are better Irish whiskeys than Jameson. I'm just saying, even back in my mid-20s, I was probably popping down $5 for a shot of Irish whiskey. Why would I do that? And then just down it. It's like my mother-in-law had a guy she was seeing for a while, and I had great Irish whiskey. I think I had Tullamore Dew or something. I asked him if he wanted some, and I poured in 2 fingers, and then he puts Coke in it. I almost lost my mind. I mean, no, that's what Kessler's for. But whatever. I love Irish whiskey. You can tell me your favorite Irish whiskey too, folks, if you like. So many good ones. I do think my favorite for the money is Tullamore Dew. You ever had Tullamore Dew?
I have.
Yeah.
I'm just not a huge... I really don't sip anything on the rocks, to be honest.
Oh, I drink it neat. I think really good whiskey, just in my opinion, I think it has to be neat.
Okay. There's one...
Doesn't have to be, but...
There's one liquor that I actually drink by itself.
What's that?
And it's Bumbu.
What's that again?
It's a rum, but it's like banana.
I don't know rums.
Banana flavored.
Okay.
It's so good. I have it in mixed drinks or I have it just in a glass. It's for Christmas 2 years ago. I got a set of the Bumbu and then the little glasses.
Wow. Look at you, man.
Yeah.
Styling. All right, we have so much to talk about. We're talking Oscars tonight. Matt Miller's here. Mark Hansen is here at 7:35 talking about a great big production at UW-Stevens Point. We're going to do a deep dive on the Oscars with Matt. We're going to come back and talk more about the Oscars. I've heard Adrian Brody is still delivering his acceptance speech. We'll check in on that. This is Pete Schwaba and Nightlight on the Civic Media Radio Network.
I'm coming out of my cage and I've been doing just fine. Gotta be damned because I want it all. It started out with a kiss. How did it end up like this? It was only a kiss.
From De Pere to Swamico, 97.9 WGBW.
Appleton Cigar Company on College Avenue has been serving the community for over 25 years. If you are a cigar aficionado looking for a one-of-a-kind experience, you need to check out Appleton Cigar, which boasts the largest selection of cigars north of Milwaukee with over 706 cigars to choose from in a walk-in humidor. The Cigar Lounge offers an impressive variety of spirits and cocktails that pair perfectly with a premium cigar. For the full experience, come to Appleton Cigar at 415 College Ave, Monday through Saturday, 11:30 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. For more information, go to appletoncigar.com.
Ready? While the teams get ready to choose their top draft pick, you can help Mino and the Mayor choose their top craft pick.
Northeast Wisconsin is home to amazing breweries, wineries, cideries, and distilleries, and we need your help picking the best.
We've drafted 10 of our favorites, but which local craft beverage creator will go to number 1? That's up to you. Top craft pick creators include Fifth Ward Brewing Company in Oshkosh, New Denmark Brewing, Duck Creek Distillery and Winery in Denmark, and Captain's Walk Winery in Green Bay. Vote for your favorite now by logging on WGBW.FM and click on Mino and the Mayor's Top Craft Pick. When you vote, you'll enter a random drawing to win $250 in gift cards from participating craft creators. Don't wait. Voting ends Friday, April 18th. Log on WGBW.FM and click on Mino and the Mayor's Top Craft Pick and vote right now. Mino and the Mayor's Top Craft Pick, drafting Northeast Wisconsin's finest one sip at a time.
Hey, it's Amanda with another new Wisco 411 for you, and let me tell you, being a mom is tiresome, and you need a break. So take one at Mom Prom on Saturday, March 8th at the Hilton Paper Valley Hotel from 7 till 10 p.m. Grab those old prom dresses, homecoming dresses, heck, there's somebody with a pile of bridesmaid dresses somewhere, and have fun and let loose. You could even get named prom queen. It may be called Mom Prom, but it's open.
Log in.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to keep everybody in suspenders here. Because that's my favorite Benny Hill saying. We're going to keep you in suspenders. So our question tonight is, what would you give an Oscar to for Best Picture? What's the best film you saw last year? Let us know. 855-752-4842. Ross from Crawford County. Ross is checking in. Hey, buddy. He says, I like Honora because the actress had such spunk, she just wouldn't put up with you-know-what. And when the Russian or Armenian mafia boy showed up, I thought, oh, boy, here comes the violence. And it just turned into these bumbling fixers that was just hilarious. It brought some levity to a serious movie. Very well said, Ross. That's a great take. He says, Nickel Boys was great, a complete unknown. I really enjoyed. They're all good movies. All of the ones you mentioned, Ross, I liked a lot too. Nickel Boys is such a heart-wrenching story based on a true story, loosely. The two characters were great. It was weird watching, for me personally, watching them break the fourth wall. I had trouble adjusting to that. And I don't know if that helped or hurt their cases for Best Picture. I don't know. But I did enjoy the film. And I do agree with you. Sean Baker stuff is also weirdly funny. It's kind of like dark comedy. The Russian guys were funny. I think there's a scene where Honora kicked one of the guys in the nose and broke his nose. I just felt like it went on too long. And I'm totally nitpicking because, now that the Oscars are in the books and you see how overwhelmingly Honora won, you kind of have to go, yeah, okay, that's the Best Picture. Not saying it was like anonymous. I think The Brutalist was a favorite for a while. I thought Conclave had picked up steam. And I would have been okay with that with that too. There was great acting, pretty good script, and then a cool twist at the end I did not see coming. So I would have been okay with that too. Ryan from Madison, he's in the 608. He says, that's a Marjorie Taylor Greene text. That was not a Best Picture.
No.
That text was not a Best Picture. I don't think it was
so.
intended for this show. So Kurt checks in the stream and says, A Complete Unknown was phenomenal. I was hoping it would sweep the Oscars and bummed it didn't win any. Yeah, that's right. They got shut out, didn't they, Kurt? I liked it a lot, too. I was surprised. I thought maybe especially since like Adrian Brody won, but the Brutalist kind of got shut out. I thought after that it might have won one more. I thought, maybe Timothée Chalamet would win, but he didn't. And seeing that outfit he had on, I'm glad he didn't win. What is he doing? I know people want to seem weird and make their mark and stand out, but good Lord.
This is what odd. My theory is that Kylie Jenner dressed him.
Yeah, that's true. Blame the Kardashian, right? You might be right about that. You got to stand out, Tim. In the 608, I was disappointed that Timothée Chalamet and Demi Moore lost. Halle Berry looked amazing. Yes, she did. That's Anna from Madison. Thank you, Anna. I was watching, my mom was over. I was watching it with my wife, my mom, and my mother-in-law. And we all got so drunk. There were drugs. It was great. No, but my mom and my mother-in-law both commented on Halle Berry. She looked beautiful. No question about that. I don't know about Timothée Chalamet. I would have been fine if he won because he was great. He learned how to play the guitar. He did the voice. It was great. But Demi Moore, I don't know. I just hated everything about that movie. And I thought there were other actresses that did really well, too. I have no problem with Mikey Madison. She kind of carried the whole movie. We should check in because Adrian Brody won his second Best Actor award, which is quite an accomplishment. That's incredible. And last I heard, he was still talking. And he has now surpassed the amount of time it took to watch The Brutalist.
Yes.
Let's hear part of his speech.
They're already counting me down. Okay. Thank you, God. Thank you for this blessed life. If I may just humbly begin by giving thanks for the tremendous outpouring of love that I've felt from this world and every individual that has treated me with respect and appreciation. I feel so fortunate. Acting is a very fragile profession. It looks very glamorous, and in certain moments it is, but the one thing that I've gained having the privilege to come back here is to have some perspective. And
make it stop.
No matter where you are in your career, no matter what you've accomplished, it can all go away. And I think what makes this night most special is the awareness of that and the gratitude that I have to still do the work that I love.
We'll come back. I don't. It goes on quite a while.
Yes,
we'll
it
be
does.
checking back in throughout the show to see if he put some closure on that. Very sweet, very genuine. He teared up. He's obviously very thankful. But it's funny that an actor who's so charismatic does not give a great speech. And maybe he wasn't prepared. Maybe he was talking from the heart. I don't know. I do think Adrian Brody's a great actor. My issue was with that movie. If that was, and I've heard it's like loosely based on other stories of architects and immigrants, but all the weird stuff that happened in that movie, I'm okay. I would have liked it better if it were a true story or based on an actual guy named Laszlo who came to this country and connected with this millionaire and built cool structures. It just went on forever. And I don't think it was the best picture. I just saw it under the wire yesterday, and I'm glad it didn't win. And I would have taken Nora, Conclave, A Complete Unknown. I thought they were all way better than The Brutalist. I like the double entendre name, but was not a huge fan. So our question tonight, what would you give an Oscar to? What's the best picture you saw last year? What's your best picture? Let us know. 855-752-4842. And we'll ask the same question to my next guest. Matt Miller joins us, the Milwaukee film critic. We'll do a deep dive into the Oscars, recap the event, talk about some of the movies. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll check in again and see if Adrian Brody is still talking. It's Pete Schwaba and Nite Lite on the Civic Media Radio Network.
The talk of Green Bay, WGBW. Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app.
From the WISS WGBW newsroom, I'm Stuart J. Waddles in for Lisa Hale. The Wisconsin Department of Workforce Development is accepting applications for Wisconsin Fast Forward grants. According to a press release, the grant program is meant to increase the number of skilled workers in the state. Public agencies, private organizations, and tribal governments can apply for the program and could be eligible to receive some funding to train more skilled workers themselves. Grant awards range from $5,000 to $400,000. Grant applications must be submitted by 3 p.m. on March 11th. A recent study conducted by Texas Electricity Ratings found Wisconsin has one of the lowest average electric costs in the country. Wisconsin ranked 5th for lowest average costs of electric bills at roughly $119 a month. Utah, New Mexico, Colorado, and Illinois were the only states to rank higher. Researchers used data from the U.S. Energy Information Administration as part of their analysis into varying utility costs for people considering relocation to a different state. With temperatures tapping the 40s, remember that no ice is safe ice. Meteorologist Brittany Merlot tells us what to look for.
Watch out for weak points, like ice shoves or spots along the shoreline that still have currents running under, or dams, inlets, and outlets. Experts say that ice may be good enough to support you in one place and possibly not in another, so check ice depth frequently. And if you do fall into icy waters, remain calm and attempt all measures to get out safely. Bring an ice pick with you and never go out on the ice alone.
With that in mind, ice shanties must be removed from Lake Michigan, Green Bay, Lake Superior, and inland waters north of 64 by March 16th. For 98.3 WISS 97.9 WGBW News, I'm Stuart J. Waddles in for Lisa Hale.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. As it turns out, not everyone in Hollywood wants to be a part of a superhero movie and is willing to pass on big fat residual checks. Jeremy Allen White, star of the Emmy-winning show The Bear, has passed on the title role in DC Universe's Sergeant Rock. In a recent interview, White said he is confused at the idea that the pinnacle of an actor's career seems to be a role in a superhero film. Then again, maybe he just doesn't like to wear tights. And then there is Chris Pratt, who seems to have no problem playing superheroes as long as the check cashes. I feel you, brother. Pratt has announced that he will play Star-Lord when the character returns to the Marvel comic universe by way of Guardians of the Galaxy. Pratt is currently one of the busiest actors in Hollywood, as he is starring in The Electric State with Millie Bobby Brown on Netflix, and you can catch him in the sci-fi film Mercy, which will be released this summer. For more showbiz fun, tune into Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
This is your local Civic Media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. Cloudy tonight, a few showers around and lows in the mid-30s. And areas of rain for tomorrow, mainly in the afternoon, a high to the mid-40s. The wind starts to pick up tomorrow night, rain changing to snow Wednesday, maybe some slushy accumulations. Currently, it's 37.
Wounded Warrior Project has been there for me since that first day in the hospital. They got me out of the house. They got me connected with other veterans, and they helped me face my PTSD. They support me and my family at every turn. And now I'm helping other warriors realize that they're not alone.
Through our hands-on programs, supportive community, and ongoing advocacy, we help post-9/11 veterans realize what's possible. Learn more at woundedwarriorproject.org/possible.
The Todd Alba Show.
Think about how many people in our communities, our friends, our families, our neighbors, are postal workers, carriers, people that work at our Veterans Affairs hospitals, USDA. Here's what Marjorie Taylor Greene, Donald Trump's lieutenant, thinks of all the people I just mentioned.
Federal employees do not deserve their jobs.
That's what Donald Trump and MAGA believe if you are a federal worker.
The Todd Alba Show. Weekdays noon till 2 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app. Todd Alba.
Hey, everybody, join us next time. We'll talk about Secretary of Defense Haig.
would have given it to Dune 2. It left me impatiently waiting for number 3. That, man, it's funny because Dune 2 was nominated, one of the 10 best according to the Academy. You did not hear much about it, though. I think it won Best Sound, but I enjoyed it. Great text, Jim. I don't know much about Dune 3 either, but maybe we can ask our next guest that. Joining us now on the program, as he so often does, our friend Matt Miller. He's a Milwaukee film critic who does great work and is always a joy to read. You can check out his Substack at A Man About Film. Check out his work. He does good stuff there. And he joins us now over the stream on Nightlight. Matt, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing fantastic. A little tired. I'm still waiting for Adrian Brody's speech to end.
We've chopped it up. We're getting through it. It's a mini series here tonight. It's unbelievable what and it's funny. It's ironic that he was in the longest movie in the history of mankind, and then he gives the longest speech too. So.
Well, and I could almost grant it if he was like a surprise winner, like if he was, not a betting favorite, and he gets up there and he's like, but he was somebody who was expected to be up there. It was between him and Timothée Chalamet, and B, he's been there before. Like you won an Oscar before. This isn't new to you. So I mean, it's a great performance. He's a worthy winner, but boy, and you know what? No good speech has ever begun with the sentence, he threw his gum at his wife. Like that's just
is
never.
That what he threw? I didn't know. I saw him.
Yeah, he would have gum,
funny.
and instead of just swallowing it like a normal person, or I don't know, figuring out something, he like shucked it at his partner, and I'm just like, this is not a good start. This is not a strong start.
It would have been cool if he was like smoking a cigarette and he looked at her and said, "Keep this lit." But yeah, gum. I don't get that.
I think it's officially by 1 second the longest speech in the history of the Academy Awards.
Is that true?
Which takes some doing. So good work, Adrian Brody. And the funny thing is, it's not like he had a lot of meaningful things to say either. No. We got to the end of that speech and we were like, the guys trying to, make peace in the Middle East were able to wrap it up faster than you. It was nuts.
Yeah,
it was
an
nuts.
Envoy. Yeah, it was strange because it was meandering. It's like, really? Like
even
when then he tells them to stop the music. I got to get through this. And like, he's a second-time Oscar winner. That's probably what gave him the street cred to have them do that. But come on, dude.
Well, and like you'd think when he was shushing the orchestra, it was like, oh, here's where he has like the heartfelt tribute to his parents or something. And instead it was just more rambling. It was It was one of the most bizarre parts of the night, and there was a random Wiz tribute in the middle of the night, so it was a fun night, but that was not one of the highlights.
All right, before we get hardcore into this deep dive, I came down to the wire. The only film I was unable to see was I'm Still Here. I just don't live in an area where they showed it, and it's not
and that was a late release. That one just came out just a few weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah, but I did see Nickel Boys, and I did see The Brutalist. I wasn't a fan of The Brutalist. I love the story of Nickel Boys, but I thought the techniques they used, breaking the fourth wall, and kind of how they told the story, took me out of it a little bit. I know some people love it. What is your take on those two films, Matt?
Yeah, I love Nickel. Nickel Boys would have been, if I was a person with a ballot, Nickel Boys would have been my best picture. Nice. I do get the kind of hesitance people have toward that movie. For people who don't know, it's a movie about two young black boys in a reform school, in a abusive, horrific reform school in Florida in the 1960s, based on the Colson Whitehead novel. And it's all told in first-person mode. It is all told from the perspective of its two characters. And I think that works really well in that movie. I think it especially serves as a gut punch when you see, when they're older, you see that the camera is not first-person. It is dissociated. It is seen from their backside. And I think it's a very moving, emotionally well-told movie. But I understand it is a very strange movie. I said, a lot of technical craft is getting involved in that film, and it can be distancing for some people. For me, it was more immersive. But yeah, I'm amazed it got the Best Picture nomination over the likes of Sing Sing, which is a little bit more, conventionally uplifting and interest and kind of conventionally, emotional. So I was happy. The nomination was the win there, and I respect The Brutalist. I think it's a mammoth production that they pulled that movie off. But for a 3.5 hour long movie, I really want to like feel that movie and really come away being amazed. And the back half of that movie just doesn't come together for me in a way that I really walked out satisfied. But I can't not appreciate everything that went into making that movie. It's one maybe I respect more than I really loved. And I think that's why it didn't win much last night, you know?
Yeah.
I think, other than Adrian Brody and Best Score, I think Brutalist was otherwise pretty much held out.
And in a weird way, and that's a great way to put it, I respect it too. And Adrian Brody was great. I just felt like it would have had a better chance if it were a true story. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like kind of it was like, wait, now this guy's doing this, and now I don't know. It just did not resonate with me, but it looked great. Adrian Brody all the actors were great. Felicity Jones was great,
I will say I like that it's not a true story. Like, if you remember 3 years ago, there was that weird thing with Tar, the Kate Blanchett movie, where people were like, "Oh, is this a biopic?" And everyone was like, "No, this is a completely made up character." And that's what I had with The Brutalist, where I walked out and I was like, "I got to read more about this architect." And then it was like, "Oh, he's not a real person." But I think that speaks to the writing of that movie, that he feels so real in a lot, and the story feels so tangible. I think that's maybe the most impressive thing about the movie, is that it feels like it should be based on a real person, or at least that this is a true story that actually is, for the most part, just inspired by an architect, as opposed to being truly a biography.
Right, and it's hard to argue with his win. Before we get into the awards, Matt, what did you think of the broadcast itself?
I thought it was a really good show. I thought Conan O'Brien, this has got to be the first time in my lifetime that someone has hosted the Oscars and gotten rave reviews for it.
Yeah.
Normally, hosting the Oscars is the most hated job in Hollywood. It's a no-win scenario. Everyone thinks you did a bad job. The room is, awkward. Conan killed it. I think he did a very good job balancing, making fun of the room, making fun of himself. When it got to the "why are we gathered here when the world is a mess" portion of the night, I thought he delivered that really sincerely and well. I thought he did a good job I liked the pomp and circumstance of the show. I liked the kind of, we're going to do a 10-minute, tribute to James Bond for no real reason.
What was that? Yeah, that was crazy.
If Amazon didn't buy the rights to Bond, and that franchise is doomed to become a shell of itself and MCU to death, I think I'd be more upset about that. But I appreciated it. I think do you know the John Mulaney joke about making a birthday sign, where it's like you start and you do a big old B and a big old I and a smaller R and you realize you're running out of room on the sign? That's how last night's show kind of felt, where it was like, in the beginning of the night, they really let people take their time and luxuriate. And you got these really fun speeches and emotional moments. And then as the night got on, clearly ABC was like, we got to wrap this up. So more people started getting played off. And, it seemed like things were really kind of rushing to get to the end. But I thought it was a good show. I'm sure the ratings aren't going to be great. I don't think this was a show people were like, oh, I got to see what's going on here. And we have to acknowledge that, these kind of shows are becoming more niche entertainment as opposed to general public entertainment. That's fine. That is the way culture is going right now. But I thought it was a good show. And I think if the Oscars were smart, they should be like, Conan, here's a 10-year contract. Keep doing this. You did great.
He was, and Conan's already kind of awkward. I thought he seemed as at ease as I've ever seen him hosting that broadcast. Like, he was a natural to do that. I thought he pulled it off great.
He has that good insider-outsider energy where he knows what's going on. He knows how to poke fun at the industry while also seeming like an outsider, but also not alienating the people the way Kimmel can, or the way Ricky Gervais does, where Ricky Gervais just seems like it tends to run a little mean and a little self-satisfied about it's like, oh, I bet you've never heard this about yourselves. Yes, they have, Ricky. They have the internet too. So I really liked Conan. I thought he had just the right tone, and again, I'd be shocked if he doesn't come back next year. If he doesn't, I don't know what they're doing.
I hope he does too. And to put a button on the broadcast itself, I love what they did with the fire victims, with the first responders. The sandworm thing was ridiculous, but kind of funny and just silly. So I like that.
Yeah, the one complaint I have, and this will be apparently my eternal complaint, Show clips of the movies.
Yeah.
Show the work. I don't need to hear Robert Downey Jr. use this big 5-minute flowery, monologue to each of the nominees for Best Supporting Actor that I tune out of. Show the work that you are nominating and get people excited to see these performances, as opposed to have someone just being like, oh man, that cinematography was so good. Show the cinematography. It's a visual medium.
Right. That's what we're doing here. Yeah.
Ugh.
Mick Jagger was cool too. That was kind of fun when Jagger went out there.
And that's the vibe, I think, of the modern Oscars. Have celebrities come out and kind of just like seem like they're hanging out, being cool on stage. Like that was what the Oscars can be at their best. And I think what we need them to be. I thought last night it was that good combination of like relaxed and, glamorous and luxuriating in its pomp. And I think that's a good combo we can move forward with.
I totally agree. My guest is Matt Miller. He is a Milwaukee-based film critic. Check out his stuff on his Substack at A Man About Film. We're breaking down the Oscars a little bit here. Let's jump in to the actual awards, Matt. Kieran Culkin started off the evening with a win. Your thoughts?
One of the weirder steamroll victories I've seen in a while. And we've seen some weird ones, too, like Renee Zellweger winning for Judy, which no one has thought about that Oscar win in quite some time. I think he's very good in A Real Pain. I'm just amazed there was never seemingly any competition. And I kept waiting for that to happen. When Real Pain missed out on Best Picture nomination, I was like, okay, maybe this is Ed Norton's time. And then, we start getting into the awards ceremonies and his speeches are kind of awkward and rambling. And you're like, okay, well, maybe this will be, Guy Pearce in The Brutalist. Maybe people will move towards him. Never happened. People just really like him, like his persona, liked that performance in the movie, which I think is fair. It's a good performance, and that movie crumbles if that performance isn't perfect.
Are you talking about Kieran Culkin now or Guy Pearce?
Kieran Culkin.
Okay.
If Culkin's performance is not pitch perfect in terms of being a charming jerk, like being a guy you hate that you have to be related to, but also you get why people like him, that movie falls apart. That movie is unwatchable. That movie is a Sundance movie no one ever speaks of ever again. And instead, it became the movie it was. So I appreciate the win. But yeah, I'm kind of amazed that it never faced any resistance this entire year.
My whole thing was like with that was I felt like he was doing his character from Succession too. Like he's so good at that. It's so natural to him. I felt like Guy Pearce. I wasn't expecting him to win, but when I just saw The Brutalist yesterday, and Guy Pearce is one of my favorite actors. I thought he was great. Loved Ed Norton. Jeremy Strong, I did not see The Apprentice. Borisov was good in Honora. It could have gone any way in that of those nominees, at least.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Boris in Honora, which obviously is a movie they loved, and he becomes a very big part of that movie by the second half. Ed Norton, he's the heart of A Complete Unknown, and I agree. I think Guy Pearce is really. He's fun in The Brutalist. Yeah. The way he plays this kind of, aloof, hyper billionaire, high and mighty guy.
I was trying to figure his character out the whole movie. That was my favorite thing maybe about that, in addition to Adrian Brody's performance.
Yeah, I think the thing with all the winners this year is that pretty much all of them I have no problems with. This was a really strong year of winners that I'm like, good for you. Like even Zoe Saldana, I don't love Emilia Perez. I don't love that performance. Yeah. But listen, Zoe's been putting in good work for years in really big stuff. She took a big swing in this movie. She's probably the best performance in that movie. So yeah, that's fine.
Let's pick up there when we come back after a very short break. Matt Miller is here helping us break down the Oscars. We'll get into some of the other awards when we come back. And then Mark Hansen is here at 7:35, the musical theater chair at the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. You won't want to miss that as well. It's Pete Schwaba and Nightlight on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Dear upstart. Breaks my heart when a teardrop falls.
To Bay Settlement, 97.9 WGBW.
Attention. If you suffer from consistent pain in your joints caused by arthritis, overuse, or injury, you may be a candidate for a revolutionary therapy that could revitalize damaged tissue. This approach can provide long-lasting relief from pain in your knees, shoulders, hips, and other joints with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. To find out if you're a viable candidate, you may request a free consultation from QC Kinetics by calling 920-332-5578. Instead of masking the symptoms, it goes to the root of the problem to resolve it at its source. Already used by thousands of satisfied patients nationwide, this joint pain therapy is available right now to the public, but only for qualified candidates. Again, to find out if you're a viable candidate for this therapy, you may request a free consultation by calling QC Kinetics at 920-332-5578. That's 920-332-5578.
I'm Dan Schaefer. Let's recombobulate. Governor Tony Evers has released his budget, calling this the most pro-kid budget in state history. This is now the fourth time that Evers has put forth a budget proposal, and the three prior were all met with a similar fate. Republicans in the legislature rejected it entirely. Again this year, Assembly Speaker Robin Vos called the budget dead on arrival. To a certain extent, this is what we've come to expect from this era of divided government in Wisconsin. In previous years, Evers has eventually signed Republican-authored budgets and used his line-item veto powers to make certain changes. But could he play hardball this time around and threaten to veto the entire budget? Is there anything in this pro-kid budget that has to be there? Things like education funding, or clean water protections, or Medicaid expansion. With everything going on in Washington, now might be the right time for Evers to fight for these proposals and fight for Wisconsinites in any way he can.
Find all of Dan's
Madison, she's in the 608, says, Pete, Adrian Brody's girlfriend is Harvey Weinstein's ex-wife. Wow. Talk about, yeah, they split up in 2018. Talk about a rebound. So if she's married to Harvey Weinstein, getting a chunk of gum thrown in her direction is probably a highlight of her day, I would imagine.
That is not great.
That is not, no, and well, whatever. I mean, that's a shock. Thank you, Anna, for the text. And then where are we here? Conrad, I'm lost. Oh, there we go. Joshua from Wausau says, Pete, this is good. Pete, how about awards? I watched The Godfather of Green Bay a couple months ago. Good movie. Made me laugh, but it deserves an award for the number of times the Macarena is played in a movie. Yeah. Most people probably wouldn't argue with there, Joshua. We paid handsomely for that title. We wanted to get our fair use out of it. Matt Miller is here. We're breaking down the Oscars. Matt, what? So you're okay with Zoe Saldana? That's another category I thought could have gone. I would have been happy with anybody that won. I thought they were all great. I will say, Amelia Perez. The more distance I have from it, the more I dislike it for some reason.
Yeah, I think it's funny because talking to people in my Oscar watching room and people I was texting with, one of the big takeaways was, oh, that movie looks interesting. I want to everyone wanted to watch that movie. But I think the thing is, Amelia Perez is best watched in 10-second clips. Like, that movie is so out of control and so many, impulses not being reined in and a lot of people taking big swings that maybe don't work. Especially across a 2-hour time frame. I can respect the swings it's taking, but it is not a movie I particularly. It was the least of my of the nominees I thought this year.
Same. And what I don't understand is I don't think the Twitter scandal even hurt them. I think they were lucky to win 2. I don't know that really hurt him in the long run.
I think I think that probably was the death knell for that movie, but I think it was as soon as it got that many nominations, because people forget it was only one nomination away from tying the record for most nominations for a movie ever. I think, the frontrunner's curse hit it. It got all those nominations, and people were like, do we like this movie that much? I don't think so. And people backed away from it, and they found other places to go. And obviously, Anora was that case, especially in terms of Best Picture.
So let's talk about we talked a little bit about Adrian Brody. Was that an upset, or who would you have given it to, Matt?
It's hard to say. I would have given it to the woman, Fernanda Torres, in I'm Still Here, the Brazilian movie. I think that's a really fabulous performance in a very good movie. I wouldn't call that an upset. I know a lot of people in the aftermath were like, "Oh, Demi Moore looks like Hollywood didn't learn the lesson from The Substance." You know,
Wait, who did I say? I was talking about Adrian Brody, but maybe you thought I meant Emilia Perez. But I was asking if you thought Adrian Brody, who would you have given Best Actor to?
Oh, Best Actor. I would have. Oh boy, in that category, I'm trying to remember who's all in there.
You got
I really
Timothée
like.
Chalamet. Coleman
I think I would have
Domingo.
given it to Chalamet. I think he's pretty great in that movie. And I think, and of the nominee, oh no, Coleman Domingo in Sing Sing. Never mind, I forgot he's nominated. He's tremendous in Sing Sing. Yeah.
Yeah,
And Coleman Domingo's going to be accepting award at the Oscars within the next 5 years.
I agree.
He's putting out great work. He is really liked in Hollywood. I think if he finds the right movie and it gets the right push, that's a done deal. You know, it's like Paul Giamatti with The Holdovers. You know, give him one more movie and that man is going to have an Oscar in his hands.
It's so funny you say that because Coleman Domingo, you're right. He is. I watched the first spinoff of The Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead. I stuck with that kind of because of him. He plays a scoundrel, and I still liked him. Like, the guy just has that quality. He's got that great voice. He's a good actor. For whatever reason, people love him. So
he's great. He's instant gravitas on screen. Like he's you know, to bring it to current events, like he's got kind of Gene Hackman energy where it's just like that guy shows up on screen and he feels like a lived-in person immediately.
That's really interesting. Okay, so Coleman Domingo, but yeah, I'm with you. I can't argue. Adrian Brody was great. Let's turn to actress. I have to say, I don't know how you feel about The Substance. I hated it. Another movie when I get distance from it. No thanks. And Demi Moore was good, but everyone was acting like it was a slam dunk, and I'm like, there's some other great performances here too. I didn't think what she did. I've seen her act in other better films, I think.
Yeah, and I was getting to this point where, you know, this morning everyone was like, ooh, it looks like Hollywood didn't learn the lesson from The Substance. They gave a new young starlet the award instead of a woman who's aging. And I just want to be like, are we forgetting that The Substance is an insane movie? Are we forgetting that The Substance is one of the wildest movies to ever receive Best Picture nominations from the Oscars? That movie is gross and violent and in your face at all times. The fact that Demi Moore was in the running is a victory all in itself. Yeah. I really like that movie. I think that movie's, you know, outlandish and wild. And I'm not surprised at all that the Oscars in the end were like, yeah, this movie's too big, too weird. And if they loved Anora as much as they obviously did, they gave it Best Picture. They gave it, I believe, 5 Oscars at the end of the night, 5 or 6 Oscars.
6, yeah.
6 Oscars at the end of the night. They clearly liked Anora a lot. How do you give Anora Best Picture and not give Anora Best Actress? So I think, and you know what? Mikey Madison is tremendous in the movie. That's another performance where that movie doesn't work without her.
She carries it. Absolutely.
Yeah. The movie is at its worst when she falls out of the movie in that kind of middle section. But when she is the centerpiece of that movie is very good.
Yeah. Matt Miller is my guest. We'll talk Best Picture and Best Director by the hottest thing in Hollywood right now. I think he has been for a while, and I just didn't know it. Sean Baker. We'll talk about that for a few more minutes with Matt Miller when we come back after the news. It's Pete Schwaba and Nightlight on the Civic Media Radio Network.
I remember there was a radio was coming from the room next door. My mother laughed the way some ladies do. When it's late in the evening and all the music seeping through. Young man, next thing I remember, I was walking down the street. I was feeling alright. I'm with my boys, I'm with my troops.
97.9 WGBW and WGBW.FM. Earl Ingram.
Coming up on the Earl Ingram Show, Dr. Anthony E. Street to address the attacks on social services. Later, I have a very special guest who will join us to
The Earl Ingram Show, weekday mornings at 9.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us. This is 97.9 WGBW Denmark, Green Bay's real news and great conversation, a Civic Media radio station.
ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. President Trump says the tariffs on the United States' biggest trading partners start at midnight.
Tomorrow, tariffs 25% on Canada and 25% on Mexico.
Americans are now bracing for more painful price hikes because of those tariffs. Economists say that the price increases will be evident by Memorial Day. Prices on food could start rising faster within weeks. Wall Street, stocks plunging today ahead of the looming tariffs. The Dow falling nearly 650 points. The Nasdaq falling 497 points. The Senate voting 51-45 today to confirm President Trump's pick for Education Secretary Linda McMahon. Tasks with the president to dismantle the same agency that she's nominated to lead. A state of emergency in South Carolina. Crews battling more than 175 wildfires across the Carolinas, and more than 4,000 acres have already burned. In Rome, a vigil in St. Peter's Square for Pope Francis, back on a ventilator after the Vatican says the Pope had a setback in his recovery from pneumonia. This is ABC News.
I'm Lisa Hale with WGBW News, your news roundup in quick podcast form. You can find it anywhere at the WGBW website, WGBW.fm.
From the WISS WGBW newsroom, I'm Stuart J. Waddles in for Lisa Hale. Area lawmakers have planned several budget listening sessions this week. In Appleton Monday, Senator Kristen Dassler-Alfheim and Representatives Lori Palmieri and Lee Snodgrass host a session at the Appleton Public Library. See our stories at civicmedia.us for days, times, and locations. Wisconsin wildlife experts are warning residents not to post to locations of rare birds on social media to avoid bird watchers flocking to the area. Residents in the northern areas of the state have seen an increase in the number of snowy owl sightings this year, and officials say crowds of people gathering to snap a picture of the majestic birds could be stressful and dangerous for them. The Trump administration's new tariffs are set to take effect Tuesday. They'll raise taxes on goods from Canada, Mexico, and China, three of the nation's biggest trade partners. All consumers would feel the effects, and so would producers like farmers. Savannah Tomley Olson reports.
Wisconsin farmers are bracing for impact. Michael Slattery is a farmer in Manitowoc County. He grows corn, soybeans, and canning vegetables. He has a decent idea of how these tariffs could impact him. In 2018, during Trump's first term, when he added tariffs to China and China retaliated, Slattery lost 60% of his revenue.
It takes decades to build up a stable market relationship. And so we were losing our biggest importer of agricultural produce because of these Trump tariffs.
Farmers would be affected twofold on exporting their products, and tariffs would raise prices on things like fertilizer and equipment parts. In 2023, Wisconsin exported almost $4 billion worth of agricultural products.
For 98.3 WISS 97.9 WGBW News, I'm Stuart J. Waddles in for Lisa Hale.
Wisconsin with a loss at Michigan State. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. The Badgers losing to the Spartans 71-62. Both teams struggled at times with their shooting. What made the difference? Head coach Greg Gard.
Untimely turnovers. And I thought we had a one-point game with about 5-6 minutes to go, and we turned the ball over twice in a row coming in transition. And those are the things, the ones you can't give them a mulligan right back. After we had got them to miss, we got them to miss a free throw, and then some offensive rebounding.
The Badgers play Minnesota Wednesday night. Marquette has a new women's volleyball head coach. Tom Mendoza spent the last 7 years at South Carolina. He replaces Ryan Thies, who was hired away by Florida at the NFL Scouting Combine. Badgers left tackle Jack Nelson from Stoughton, Wisconsin, talked about his dad, Todd, who played for the Badgers, and his younger brother, Barrett, also now on the team.
I mean, it means the world to me. You know, I got a younger brother there right now playing O-line. Got to play a few years with him. You know, kind of put that on your back and be the one to put on for your city, for your family like that.
That's the Badgers' Jack Nelson. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media radio station or the Civic Media app.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. Cloudy tonight, a few showers around and lows in the mid-30s. And areas of rain for tomorrow, mainly in the afternoon, a high to the mid-40s. The wind starts to pick up tomorrow night, rain changing to snow Wednesday, maybe some slushy accumulations. Right now it's 38.
Ready for the ultimate getaway? Picture this, a cozy cabin in Wisconsin's Northwoods, surrounded by nature's beauty, crystal clear lakes, and endless adventure. Be it fishing, boating, snowmobiling, or just kicking back by a campfire under the stars. This is relaxation like never before. Cook your own meals, enjoy private docks, and even bring your furry friends along for the ride. It's a perfect spot for family fun, a romantic retreat, and more. What kind of trip are you planning? Book your Northwoods vacation rental at simpleliferentals.com.
Doctors Without Borders is delivering life-saving medical care where it's needed most in communities around the world. From bandaging war-wounded patients in Sudan to providing clean drinking water in Haiti, we're in more than 70 countries worldwide, bringing patients from sick to recovering, from emergency to aid, from crisis to care. This life-saving care is made possible by a global movement of supporters like you. Thank you.
Maggie Dawn.
At 2:30, I'm joined by Megan Rowe of Opportunity Wisconsin to talk about the devastating cuts to Social Security, Medicare.
Broadcasting live from the Civic Media Studios in Green Bay, this is Nite with Pete Schwaba, your inside source on everything entertainment from Wisconsin to Hollywood. And now, a guy who thinks outside the box and hates cliches, Pete Schwaba.
Welcome back. Coming up at 7:35, the chair of the musical theater department at University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point, the only musical theater department in state colleges here in Wisconsin. Mark Hansen will be here. He's going to talk about their Big Spring Show, which is in full swing right now, and a little bit about the program. On the text line, the 608 says, Flow. Glad it won. It had such a powerful and, yes, I agree with you, Matt, and I would say timely message. That we're all in the same boat, and sometimes all we've got is each other. And more, it was a metaphor for life itself, the ups and downs and mysteries of it, while at the same time, on another level, it's just a good old-fashioned fantasy action adventure story complete with the traditional Hollywood convention of the four friends banding together to fight the odds. Totally original and just brilliant. That's from, I hope I'm saying this name correctly, Katja from Madison. Thank you for the text. That's a great text. Matt, you saw Flow, right?
I loved it. It's one of the 10 best movies I saw last year. I was and listen, The Wild Robot is a great movie as well. That would have been a worthy winner. But the fact that a Latvian animated movie with no words.
And no budget really, right?
It was like made for like $4 million, I think, or something insane like that. That won Best Picture. Really cool. And that was kind of the theme of all of last night's big winners was no big movies really won. Obviously, Dune won in some of the technical categories, but when it came to the big major categories, you had Flow winning Best Animated Feature. You had No Other Land, a movie that does not have U.S. distribution. And if you see it in theaters right now, that's because they're self-distributing that movie right now. That won Best Documentary. Obviously, you had The Brutalist, which was an independent movie, and Anora, which is an independently produced movie, winning Best Picture. A really big night for the little guys last night, which was very heartening to see and very unusual for the Oscars. This was a real sign that it is a new Academy voting for the Oscars now. This is not the fuddy-duddy old days. This is not that time anymore. They seem to have officially become a new body, which is exciting. It's exciting to think that there may not be such a thing as a obvious, predictable Oscar bait movie anymore.
Yeah, no, very well said. And thank you for the text, Katja in Madison. Great text.
I also just want to double back because I heard one of the talking texters mention Dune Part 2, which it did kind of as expected last night. Only won the 2 technical awards, was basically an also ran everywhere else. I think to answer questions, the reason why that happened, it came out in March. It came out a year ago. So it was just not top of mind for a lot of voters. And I also think there is a certain feeling of, there's a third movie coming, like the Lord of the Rings thing. I think this happened to Wicked too. Why give the first movie the awards when we know we've got the full package coming soon? So maybe Dune Messiah is the big Dune movie that performs really well at the Oscars. Maybe Wicked for Good is the Wicked movie that performs really well at the Oscars. But we'll have to see what happens when those come out.
Great point. Let's go to, we got a couple more categories here, Matt. Let's talk about director Sean Baker. I'm late to the Sean Baker train. In the last 3 months, I've seen Tangerine, Red Rocket, Florida Project, which is one of my all-time favorite films.
Very good movie, yeah.
And Anora. And I don't even know that Anora, for me personally, is his best film, but he made history. He won 4 Oscars from the same film that's never been done before, mostly because he edited it. That's incredible. What's your take? Are you a huge fan? I think he's great.
I'm a fan of his. I'm even more of a fan of his after this awards campaign because he said everything he said last night on that Oscar stage was things that he was saying throughout this awards season, talking about the importance of movie theaters and, making sure people put theater first and the state of indie film. He did a really good speech at the Indie Spirits Award talking about, this industry right now is really struggling. So cheers to all of you who are making these independent films for essentially the love of the film. I think he is somebody, I think Hollywood loved Anora. I think they're big fans of that movie. But I think last night was them also being like, we love what you're doing, Sean Baker.
Yeah.
We love these on the ground, extremely humanist portraits of corners of society that never get spotlights on them, generally speaking. These very, human stories that he tells for low budgets. And that
marginalized characters,
marginalized, exactly.
Right.
And I think that was a big part of last night's love fest for Anora was that they were like, Sean Baker, we love what you're doing. We wish we made more movies like this. We wish, like the studios, I think, are like, man, remember when we used to make interesting character studies for mid-budgets and put them out in theaters? That'd be cool to do. We're not going to do it, but it's nice that somebody still is. And people forget Tangerine, his breakthrough movie, was all filmed on an iPhone. Like he's always been kind of working on this on the ground kind of rugged way, finding stars like Simon Rex in Red Rocket, who was incredible in that movie. I wish Red Rocket had gotten more of a shake when it came out 2 years ago. I'm very happy that he found success this past Oscar season. Anora is not my favorite of his movies, but it is a worthy winner. And I'm excited to see what he does next. He's won Best Picture. What does a blank check Sean Baker movie look like?
Great point.
Probably he's going to escalate to a whole $15 million on his next movie.
It's interesting because he ends his films. The end of the Florida Project was heartbreaking and then really sweet.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that. And then Red Rocket too, when he pulls up to the girl's house, and I'm like, oh my God, I love that. I'm like, how is he going to wrap this up? And it's perfect for what the movie was. Did you understand the ending of Anora? It was so odd. I just was kind of like, it was real though, but I didn't get it.
It's ambiguous, and I think you can kind of see what you want to see in the ending. I kind of see that more of as an issue with the movie itself. Again, I think that movie's really good, but I do think she kind of falls out of the movie's focus in a lot of the middle section of that movie. And I think for that end sequence to kind of have the impact you need it to, I need to be more in her head. I need to be like on with her through this entire journey, kind of seeing how she's interpreting things and seeing how she's seeing this situation unfold. And I think that's kind of the big faux pas. That's the reason why that movie is not the favorite of mine, this year.
Right.
But I think it's still a good movie. And I still think there's a lot of really fabulous stuff in there. I also wonder if a lot of the Anora love this year was a lot of that movie's got real Uncut Gems vibes. And I wonder if they're looking back at that Oscar year 2019 and they're like, we missed that one. Uncut Gems should have, like Adam Sandler should have been nominated. We should have given that movie some love somewhere. and Honora is kind of the next thing to come through, we can give this some of the love that maybe we missed before earlier.
That's a really great point. I will say, Mikey Madison, much easier to watch act, and her character, like Adam Sandler, I wanted to punch him through that whole movie.
Uncut Gems is one of the most
right.
Uncut Gems is one of the most stressful movies you can watch. That isn't a horror movie. It's just a guy making bad decisions for 2.5 hours.
Crazy, I know.
I like that about the movie. I almost wish Nora was able to maintain the way Uncut Gems does. Uncut Gems is 2.5 hours of like, don't do that.
Right.
And
What is this
Nora
guy's
has
problem?
Nora is mostly that, and then like large intermissions.
All right, so you just said maybe Honora wasn't your favorite Sean Baker movie. In terms of Best Picture, you okay with that, or where would you have gone if it was up to you?
I mean, again, if it was up to me, I think Nickel Boys was head and shoulders above everything else. I think I'm Still Here, the Brazilian movie, is really tremendous. It should still be out in theaters. It won the Best International Film Award, so very mumuch worth your while. Unfortunately, very politically relevant to us right now in this country. For those who don't know, it's about the Brazilian mother and woman living in 1970s Brazil as military dictatorship is kind of really putting a chokehold on its people. Like I said, big laugher, real fun time. But no, it's a very good movie, very much worth your while. And I really liked Conclave too. I think Conclave was I've said this since the beginning, it was the Argo of this year, where it may not be exciting or, revolutionary cinema, but it's just a really well-made adult drama, the kind that we used to take for granted 10, 15 years ago. I think that movie's quite good. It's almost better for it now that it doesn't have to live up to the title of Best Picture of the Year, because that title can crush movies. We've seen that happen to a lot of movies that are good, but maybe can't withstand the pressure of being the anointed one for a specific year. Now it just gets to be a good movie, and good on it.
It's weird. I said before, with distance from Amelia Perez, I hated it even more. Kind of the opposite with Conclave. Like, I liked it when I saw it, but when I had distance from that, I'm like, boy, that was a solid film all around. Writing, acting, the great twist at the end. I could have been happy with that winning too. And like you said before, Matt, if there was no sequel to Wicked, they make a strong case. But hey, they left out in memoriam a Wisconsinite, Jim Abrams.
Oh yeah. They always leave out somebody. They always leave out multiple somebodies, unfortunately. Like Tony Todd, famous from Candyman, he was left out as well. I know a lot of very notable figures were left out of this. It's sad that we can't find a way to do everyone justice at the Oscars, but I blame Adrian Brody's speech.
They had to cut something.
I'm going to blame Adrian Brody's speech for every bad thing that happens to me for the next year.
And it's bad to be left out of something like that, but it's also good to be famous enough to be considered, having that be considered a snub. So everybody kind of still wins. Only 364 days to go till the next Oscars, Matt. Thanks so much for helping us break this down tonight. That was a lot of fun. We'll do it again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk more.
Sounds good. All right, that's Matt Miller, folks. Check out his Substack, A Man About Film. He does very good work there, and that was a great discussion. Conrad, did you learn anything? Do you wish you would have seen the broadcast now?
I mean, I watched some of it on YouTube, but I watched during that time. I actually rewatched the SNL broadcast this on Saturday, but on Sunday,
like the regular show. You mean?
Yeah.
Oh,
and it's Shane Gillis.
Oh yeah, how was that?
It's so funny.
He's a funny dude. Is that the one where Mike Myers wore the I Love Canada T-shirt or whatever? Or is that last week?
No, I actually didn't. They might have done that in the cold open. I actually didn't watch the cold open, but
yeah, they did some kind of I Love Canada. I saw it all over social media, but I didn't see the actual broadcast. Hey, when we come back, we're going to check in and see how Adrian Brody's speech is going. Mark Hansen is coming up at 7:35, talking some musical theater here in central Wisconsin. This is Pete Schwaba and Nightlight on the Civic Media Radio Network.
This is the talk of Green Bay, WGBW.
Ready?
While the teams get ready to choose their top draft pick, you can help Mino and the Mayor choose their top craft pick.
Northeast Wisconsin is home to amazing breweries, wineries, cideries, and distilleries, and we need your help picking the best.
We've drafted 10 of our favorites, but which local craft beverage creator will go to number 1? That's up to you. Top craft pick creators include Kerrigan Brothers Winery in Kaukauna, Stillmake Brewing Company in Green Bay, Old Station 31 Spirits in Dale, and Old Bavarian Brewing Company in Appleton. Vote for your favorite now by logging on WGBW.FM and click on Mino and the Mayor's Top Craft Pick. When you vote, you'll enter a random drawing to win $250 in gift cards from participating craft creators. Don't wait. Voting ends Friday, April 18th. Log on WGBW.FM and click on Mino and the Mayor's Top Craft Pick and vote right now. Mino and the Mayor's Top Craft Pick, drafting Northeast Wisconsin's finest one sip at a time. The Todd Alba Show.
Trump and Vance verbally assaulted the president of Ukraine, an ally of the U.S. Trump defending the president of Russia, a known dictator. This is a complete capitulation to our sworn enemies, and it's time for Republicans, my former party that I left in 2011, to speak the hell up, because if we don't, it's not going to be long before we don't have anything left to defend.
The Todd Alba Show. Weekdays noon till 2 on your local civic media radio station and on the app. The Maggie Dawn Show.
Can our NATO allies continue to rely on the United States under President Trump? What is your take, Professor Barrington?
The conversation had been going into Friday. Can Europe just get a seat at the table for these negotiations? The right question now is, can Europe build a new table? And I think that's where they are. February 28th, 2025 is going to be remembered as, I think, a pretty key date.
The Maggie Dawn Show.
Who refuses to text the show and texts me personally, which is fine. Okay. He says Longlegs was his favorite film from last year. The horror film with Nicolas Cage, who you wouldn't even know it was Nicolas Cage in the film. That's how good the makeup job was. Fascinating. It was a good movie. It's not really my genre. Did you see Longlegs? Did we talk about that?
I'm not a horror person fan, so I don't watch any of those.
That's interesting. If Dave likes horror, that's fine. It's not my cup of tea either, but it was a very well done film. And that studio, I think, is Neon. They're just crushing. I think they did Nosferatu, Longlegs. They might have done Anora too. I felt like they got thanked a lot last night. So anyway, hey, we should probably check in. As many of you may or may not know, Adrian Brody was still talking last we checked. He started his acceptance speech last night at the Oscars. And let's see, is he still talking? What's going on? Let's check it out.
Yeah, we'll go right to it.
Okay.
I know it's been a roller coaster, but thank you for accepting me into your life. And Popsy's coming home a winner. And who else? And Judy Becker, the real Oslo Toth, who deserves to be up here as well. And I'm wrapping up. Please, I'm wrapping up. I will wrap up. Please turn the music off. I've done this before. Thank you. It's not my first rodeo, but I will be brief. I will not be egregious, I promise. You know, I'm oddly, I have to thank my mom and dad who are here as well. And they've just created just such a strong foundation of respect and of kindness and a wonderful spirit, and they've given me the strength to pursue this dream.
He had to gather himself to remember to thank his parents. That's just at the top of your head, or you have it written down. What did Matt say? That missed the longest speech at the Oscars by 1 second in the history of the Oscars. And he was the star of one of the longest movies. So, our question of the night, ladies and gentlemen, is what's your best picture nominee or winner from last year? What's the best movie you saw that you would give an Oscar to? I'm still actually thinking. I can't. There's so many great films last year, and a lot of them didn't get nominated. And I'm trying to decipher and go through what I saw so I can give an answer here on the show because we thought of the question kind of last minute. But what did you see that you would give an Oscar to? What's your best picture from last year? 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC, or text us on the app. Honora was the big winner last night with 5 out of 6. I would say, I can't really say a movie that I saw that came out this year. It could have been Oscar. Yeah, let's say it had to come out last year. So 855-752-4842. Let me know what you guys are thinking, what your favorite film of the year was. What did you say? The Fall Guy. And you were completely serious.
Yes, I was completely serious. The second time I watched it, I fell asleep during it. So that's definitely my best nomination right there.
So it helps you get some Z's. That's good.
It's definitely it would be challenges for me though, because I've rewatched that 3 times now. I still like it every.
Really?
Yeah, I just think it's a great film, great story.
All right.
I'm also a big sports film guy, so
yeah.
Well,
was there a sports film last year you liked?
Just a bit outside was really good, but I still haven't seen Green and Gold yet.
Green and Gold, right? I don't know if I would. Actually, that came out this year.
Well,
I don't even know. Yeah, I guess technically Green and Gold would be a sports film.
Just a bit outside, I really enjoyed those. So
yeah, it was fun talking about Major League too. When Bob,
yeah.
Hey, I left here Thursday night. I did the show from home Friday, and I lost my debit card. I got gas on my way out of town. No idea what happened to it. No one has found it or tried to use it. So I'm like hesitant. It is good, but at what point do I cut my losses? Because if I get a new debit card, I have to put it on Netflix, Amazon, anywhere I have auto withdrawal. I got to go through that whole rigmarole.
Did you go back to that gas station?
I called.
And they said no?
It's the Sunoco over here. And they said, no, nothing was turned in. So, I mean, I thought I went through my car inside and out. I went through all my clothes. I know it's going to turn up somewhere stupid 2 days right after I get a new debit card and have to spend half the day entering those numbers into all my accounts. But I did call. I put it on hold. I don't know. It's really frustrating. Today is National Irish Whiskey Day. We should have, you know what? Let's do this for tomorrow. A good question would be, what is your favorite liquor or brand? I don't know. Let's think about that. Because as someone who hasn't had a drink in over 2 years, it is fun to talk about alcohol. That's as close as I can get these days. And the Badgers yesterday, okay, so, you know, I almost like that they're not in contention for the Big Ten title. I like them as a sleeper, someone you maybe don't want to play in the tournament. Like, they've fallen off a little bit after a great start, but I still feel like you don't want to play them in the tournament. I
mean, they're still the 12th ranked team in the in the top 25. So they're a great team still. That just, you know, some games don't go your way. They shot really bad against Michigan State. So I think it's just the next game they come back and say, how can we get better? And that's just how it is every game, you know?
So if they do that, like, okay, because I don't know, are they overranked or underranked at 12?
I think they're perfect where they are right now.
Okay.
I think they have room for improvement, definitely. But I don't think they should be under 12.
Of the Best Picture nominees, the Badgers are like, let's say, The Substance.
No, wait, no. You hate The Substance.
I hated The Substance with a passion. I hated that movie so much.
You can't talk about the Badgers like that. Come on.
I don't hate the Badgers. I'm just saying where they rank in terms of if we were putting this into Best Picture perspective. So, only 364 days, folks, till the next Oscar broadcast.
I think you should put your name in there for hosting.
Yeah, why not? No, Conan did great. He was outstanding. And Adrian Brody is, to the best of our knowledge, is still talking. We'll cover that. But coming up after the news, very excited to welcome Mark Hansen. He'll be here. He's the chair of the musical theater department right here in central Wisconsin, where Nite is huge. So I'm excited to talk to Mark about what's going on at UWSP and talk about their spring performance, which is happening right now. We'll do that after the news. This is Pete Schwaba and Nite Lite on the Civic Media Radio Network.
On to Alloway. This is 97.9 WGBW. You can always continue the conversation on social media. Share your thoughts when you find and follow Civic Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram.
From the WISS WGBW newsroom, I'm Stuart J. Waddles in for Lisa Hale. The Wisconsin Department of Workforce Development is accepting applications for Wisconsin Fast Forward grants. According to a press release, the grant program is meant to increase the number of skilled workers in the state. Public agencies, private organizations, and tribal governments can apply for the program and could be eligible to receive some funding to train more skilled workers themselves. Grant awards range from $5,000 to $400,000. Grant applications must be submitted by 3 p.m. on March 11th. A recent study conducted by Texas Electricity Ratings found Wisconsin has one of the lowest average electric costs in the country. Wisconsin ranked 5th for lowest average costs of electric bills at roughly $119 a month. Utah, New Mexico, Colorado, and Illinois were the only states to rank higher. Researchers used data from the U.S. Energy Information Administration as part of their analysis into varying utility costs for people considering relocation to a different state. With temperatures tapping the 40s, remember that no ice is safe ice. Meteorologist Brittany Merlot tells us what to look for.
Watch out for weak points, like ice shoves or spots along the shoreline that still have currents running under, or dams, inlets, and outlets. Experts say that ice may be good enough to support you in one place and possibly not in another, so check ice depth frequently. And if you do fall into icy waters, remain calm and attempt all measures to get out safely.
That's funny.
Hey, Mark, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes. Just wanted to test your audio before we go on. Can you just say a couple of things for me?
Sure. I have no idea what we're going to talk about tonight, so this should be interesting. But I'm so glad I know now that I should get out of the icy water as soon as I fall in. So that was helpful. That was very helpful. Very
All right,
smart.
well, your audio sounds good, so yeah, we'll be good.
Okay.
To go. We'll be back in about 2 minutes. All right.
Okay.
Always set at a White Lotus resort, where in episode 1, we learn a murder has been committed, but don't find out who the victim is or who done it until the last episode of the season. Jennifer Coolidge was the victim in season 2 and says she hopes that her on-screen husband, played by John Grise, is the victim in the 3rd season. That seems the obvious choice, but writer-creator Mike White likes to keep the audience guessing. You can catch White Lotus at 9 p.m. on Sunday nights on Max. For more showbiz fun, tune in to Nite Lite with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. Cloudy tonight, a few showers around and lows in the mid-30s. And areas of rain for tomorrow, mainly in the afternoon, a high to the mid-40s. The wind starts to pick up tomorrow night, rain changing to snow Wednesday, maybe some slushy accumulations. Right now it's 38.
The Todd Alba Show.
Tracy Olson joins us.
There's a hockey game tomorrow night between Canada and the U.S. Everywhere up in Canada when they were playing the game, the U.S. was being booed. Imagine how you would feel if your neighbor were constantly saying, "I'm taking your backyard." You would find that very serious. That's what's happening around the world. We are going to have no friends, period.
That is
and
so
that
well put.
matters.
The Todd Alba Show. Weekdays noon till 2 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app. The Dom Salvia Show.
You know, Harvey, the seemingly purposeful no action. What's your sense on the leadership in the Dem Party right now, Harvey?
I'm ashamed of them. What did Trump have on all these people?
Yeah, right.
That we get this kind of silence. Will the Democratic leadership figure out that it's their task to start articulating a Democratic, small d, Democratic vision and project that these people can rally behind? Bam.
The Dom Salvia Show, weekdays from 4 till 6 on the Civic Media Radio Network and on the Civic Media app. John Mino and Jim Schmidt.
On Tuesday's show, we'll welcome Billy Joe Bannock.
Will you be a vision in white? How to get your pants so tight?
From the 818, Bridget says, I really enjoyed Wicked. Good acting, amazing songs, and sets. Could not agree more, Bridget. In fact, I agree with Matt Miller. If there was not a part 2, that might have taken more Oscars. But I agree. It was a great film. And Conrad Eddie texted us, and it looks like it's longer than Adrian Brody's acceptance speech. So, as usual, we have a steady Eddie text around the corner, folks. Don't go anywhere. It is my pleasure to welcome to Nightlight now for the first time. He is the musical theater program coordinator at the University of Wisconsin, Stevens Point, where we have a lot of listeners in central Wisconsin. And he joins us now on the stream, Mark Hansen. Mark, how are you?
Hey, I'm good, thanks.
Great to have you on the show. Did you watch the Oscars, Mark?
I haven't watched it in probably 30 years.
You're too much of a theater guy even to watch the Oscars. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I get bored.
Do you watch
Yeah.
the Tonys?
I don't really watch the Tonys anymore either. I will sometimes I used to when you could we used to record them, and now you don't have to because somebody else does that for you. But I would just watch the musical numbers and that was it. So
That's
didn't care about the speeches.
I'm kind of the same way. I mean, I kind of feel like I watch the Oscars now because I do this show. I love movies.
Yeah.
The show about movies is just okay. But hey, it's great to have you on the show. Before we jump into some of the cool things that are happening at UWSP, tell us a little bit about your background, if you would, please.
Oh, wow. So I grew up in southern Minnesota, kind of a farm kid. Lived in a small college town in southern Minnesota. After high school, I went to the University of Minnesota in Duluth, Minnesota. So I went
nice.
even more north than Stevens Point. And but then after graduation, I immediately went to Arizona State for grad school. So
That's some of that warm weather. There you
yeah,
go.
yeah. And I didn't think I would ever come back to the Midwest, but after that, I headed out to the East Coast. I was working as a pianist and music director in Boston and New York City, and kind of all over the country in different regional theaters, and doing some national tours. And then I ended up sort of getting tired of living out of a suitcase, so I moved to San Francisco, which was my favorite sort of stop on the tour. So
Great
loved San Francisco. I lived there for 22 years. And then in 2013, I got the job at Stevens Point. So I came back to the Midwest.
What?
So.
Okay. So I was in warm weather for 14 years too. What is it about? Do we like the people here so much? We're willing to brave the elements. I mean, are they that special? I don't understand how we all end up back here, but it happens.
It does. I mean, I have family who still are in the area, so that was great. But I think also it was really hard to find, just because I wanted to get into teaching and into academia, and it was hard to get a full-time teaching job in the San Francisco Bay Area. So I was an adjunct at 3 different colleges, and so I spent most of my day, if I wasn't in the classroom, I was in my car driving to the next campus. So I kind of the appeal of having just one job at one school was really tempting. So
there you go. You've had a good
Yeah.
run there. I know UW Stevens Point has such a great reputation. Tell us a little bit about, you guys have your spring play, such a great facility there. You have a great theater. Tell us about Pirates of Penzance, if you would,
Okay.
please.
Yeah, well, we just opened this weekend, so we just had 3 pretty close to sold out performances. So that was exciting. We've got 4 more coming up this next week on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And it's not, Gilbert and Sullivan is not necessarily everyone's cup of tea, but I think people that come into the show are going to have a good time. It's a lot of fun. It's interesting. I mean, it's this production is pretty faithful to the original. We didn't change any words or any of the lyrics. A lot of the Brits particularly are very irreverent with with the material. They will rewrite everything and put like local character names in, like politicians in the area where they're performing. And so they have they change it all around. But I kept it the same, and I just thought we'll put a little bit more of a modern sensibility into some of the humor. And I've got terrific. Well, you know. You're familiar with some of our student body, so I think the talent is pretty high. And
Disclaimer: my daughter goes to UWSP, and that's how I became acquainted with this great program. So let's get that out of the way. She's not in Pirates of Penzance.
She's not. She's not. No, I'm. She'll be doing plenty very soon, I'm sure. But no, it's one of those things that the cast is great. They just kind of took to it. I think most of the people in the cast had never done anything like this before, so it's new for everyone. It's the first Gilbert and Sullivan that my music director has ever worked on, so a lot of people coming at it from a different perspective and point of view. And I've been living with it since I was in 6th grade, and I was in the All City operetta of HMS Pinafore, and I was like sailor number 10, and I mean, it was just I had a great time. I grew up just loving Gilbert and Sullivan. And so Pirates has been something this is probably my 6th production of it. So it's one of those that I've kind of spent some time with. So
how is that, Mark, when you have these kids coming in who are 18, 19, 20, whatever, and you're springing these plays on them that have been around that long? Do they take to it right away, or is it something they learn to love when they get into it a little bit?
Yeah. Well, you don't start out by telling them it's 145 years old, because then they kind of go, "Oh, okay." But I think, I roll. But then they realize, oh, it's actually kind of still relevant. A lot of the humor, because W.S. Gilbert was a brilliant satirist. I mean, he made fun of everything. He didn't do anything seriously, and so his humor was super timely for its time, but it continues to stay timely because things don't really change that much from 100 years ago. So I think people are kind of the same. So I think the cast kind of sees the universality of it, and the fact that audiences also respond to it. They'll laugh at the jokes. They're silly, and they're kind of those bad dad jokes sometimes, and they laugh. They just have a great time. Even the students that are coming are laughing at it. So it's like the all intergenerational audience, and they're all enjoying it. And so I think that you just have to say, trust us. This is going to be a good experience, and I think they're all there. I think everyone is having a great time on stage, and it shows. I think that's a part of the fun energy, is that the cast is having as much fun as the audience. So
that's so great. My guest is Mark Hansen. He is a professor and BFA of the musical theater program. He's the coordinator at University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. How can people get tickets, Mark, if they want to check this out?
Oh, I suppose I should know all those things.
Maybe Google?
They can check the website, the university's website, the ticket office, ticketing website. At the uwsp.edu. There's tickets available for the whole weekend. I know that. It does tend to sell it fast, but I think that's the best way to do it. Yeah. They can also give them a call. Yeah.
Well, break a leg with that. I think it's funny, we were talking about like when you discover something that you really like it. I remember being in a play in high school, Rodgers and Hammerstein. I was in Oklahoma. And I had never, I grew up, my dad was into classical music, and I never had really wanted anything to do with it. But then I heard, some great like show tunes like Rodgers and Hammerstein, Oklahoma, Carousel. And I still, once in a great while, I'll still pop something like that in. So it's funny that, I mean, it says something about the art and the writing, that it stands the test of time. And like you said, it's 100 years later, and we're still listening to this stuff.
Yeah, it does. I know. It's, yeah, I mean, Oklahoma's 1943, so we're going to have, the 100th anniversary coming up pretty soon. So, I mean, it's a while, but still, I remember doing the 50th anniversary production. I did the 50th anniversary for Oklahoma, and I was like, wow, it's 50 years old. Oh my God. And that was a long time ago. But it's still, I love it. It's there's something about those classic shows that have a timelessness to it. I mean, if you can find something in it anytime you look at it. So,
I want to ask you, because when we were looking at colleges, I didn't know, like Stevens Point, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the only state school in Wisconsin that offers a musical theater BFA. Is that correct?
Technically, yes. I think
Okay.
that's correct. As far as the actual BFA in musical theater, I think that the university in Milwaukee, the UWM in Milwaukee, has a musical theater BFA, but I think it's called it's like a hybrid. You get
Okay.
you get a degree in theater, a degree in music, and a degree in dance. So it's like a combination of 3 different degrees. So it's a little bit different. But we offer the only in the UW system, we offer the only BFA musical theater, which is, we're really proud of that. The only other competition we have in the state is the private school of Viterbo in La Crosse. And they have a BFA in musical theater as well, but that's really only our competition.
In your opinion, do
Oh no.
we no, you're a dime your dance floor, buddy. You can answer this any way you want. Do we offer kids now enough access to music, theater, the arts in general, acting, whatever it may be? There's such an emphasis on sports. I don't think as many kids are playing sports now either, but is this something we could kind of pivot to and sort of push this a little more on kids so that there are more musical theater programs?
Well, I think the arts in general have always been in the state of Wisconsin have been pretty high. I'm impressed because after living in California for a long time, I watched a lot of school music programs be cut and theater programs and such be cut. But coming back to the Midwest, I was like, wow, it's pretty robust here. I grew up with a very strong music program in my elementary school, and I'm trained as a pianist, and so that was always my instrument. But so I think that it's very popular right now. Musical theater particularly is very popular. I mean, just look at Broadway. Everything is a musical. It might be 1 or 2 plays, and they're usually just like a couple Hollywood actors, putting in a few months on Broadway, and then they leave. But the musicals are really, hugely popular, especially, it's a big tourist industry. So of course, everybody wants to go and see a big Broadway show. But it's popular all over the world. I mean, that's the thing. Musical theater is one of those art forms that every culture has some type of it in their history, but also embraces a lot of the Western ideas of musical theater as well. So I think it translates really well. The Japanese and the Koreans love American musicals and produce them all the time. So yeah, and tours go through Asia all the time. It's one of those things. The Australians have a huge musical theater love for it, and they will write their own shows as well. But it's I think everybody's so excited about it. I think it was when the movie Chicago came out in the 90s, and suddenly musicals were like cool and sexy and entertaining again. And I think people were like, oh, okay, this is really cool. And I think that's what just started this trend for young people really to get hooked into musical theater.
I love it. And I will say this, those of you listening, if you live in central Wisconsin, I know we have especially after the meeting last week, we have a lot of listeners in the area, Wausau, Plover, Stevens Point, Wapaka. Check out, the great thing is, Mark, you've got kids coming through your program that are the professional actors and singers and dancers of tomorrow. Like, this is something you can see for not a lot of money that's great. And like you talked about Broadway. I've seen a couple shows on Broadway, but when I see them in Chicago or Milwaukee or even at the PAC here in Appleton, I love it. And I don't go, well, that guy wasn't quite as good as the Jean Valjean on Broadway. You're going to love it. So check it out. Pirates of Penzance, one more weekend. Mark, thank you so much for your time. Break a leg.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Pete.
You got it. Anytime. All right. Mark Hansen from UW Stevens Point. He is the BFA Musical Theater Program Coordinator. Does a great job there. And Stevens Point, just a great little campus. Check it out if you're interested in the arts or in general. It's a great school. When we come back, we'll close this thing down. We'll read our texts and check in on Adrian Brody's speech. My guess would be that little mini-series is still happening. So we'll do all that after a very short break on Nightlight with Pete Schwaba on the Civic Media Radio Network.
There's a progress we have found.
You're listening to the Talk of Green Bay, WGBW.
Do you enjoy fatty foods, sweets, and alcohol? Who doesn't? Unfortunately, all those things put a lot of pressure on our liver. That's why pharmacist, best-selling author, and nutritional expert Sherry Torkos recommends Active Liver from New Nordic.
The liver is an incredible organ. It works nonstop to process toxins and chemicals from our food and drinks, medications we take, and even environmental exposures. As a health expert, I'm often asked how to support the liver's natural detoxification process and offset the effects of fatty foods, sugar, and alcohol. I recommend Active Liver by New Nordic. This gentle plant-based supplement is an effective way to support your liver's vital functions as well as your energy and overall well-being.
With its powerful blend of turmeric, milk thistle, and globe artichoke extract, Active Liver is the perfect way to keep your liver healthy and you feeling your best. Active Liver is available in both a delicious gummy or tablet. You can find Active Liver in the vitamin aisle at your local CVS or online at Amazon or newnordicusa.com.
Hey, it's Amanda, and we all know that Northeast Wisconsin has some of the best events around, but trying to find them all can be tricky. So here at WGBW, we decided to do the work for you. Prevent boredom on any night by going to WGBW.fm and click events in the top right corner. You'll never have to spend forever scrolling to find out what's going on in your area. And if you got an event to share, hit us up by emailing info@WGBW.fm. We can work together to have real news and great conversation while giving you the 411 on what's happening in New Wisco.
As a federally licensed broadcast company, this civic media station is required by FCC regulations to accept advertising by all qualified candidates for federal office. We also accept ads from state and local candidates. We do screen announcements from issue groups and PACs and exercise discretion in airing announcements with blatantly false claims or outrageous, unfounded statements. These announcements do not necessarily reflect the views of civic media, its hosts,
Talking some Oscars, some musical theater, trying to cover all the bases here on Nightlight tonight. Pamela from Wisconsin Rapids, she's in the 715 over in that nape of the way, says, I played in the pit orchestra for our high school's production of Oklahoma. The songs are in my mind forever. Nice promotion for UWSP tonight. From Pamela in Wisconsin Rapids. Well, that's what we're doing here, Pamela, celebrating the arts and all things that help us escape and keep music and lyrics and acting and creative stuff in our hearts. So thank you for the text tonight, Pamela. Bridget's text we got 414. Brian from the 414. He's in Milwaukee. He says Conclave was my favorite. Did not see the twist ending. I am with you, Brian, and that's why I thought it was. I really liked it. That movie is more important now than ever. Prayers for Pope Francis. Brian from Milwaukee. Thanks so much for the text, Brian. That's great. And I'm with you on Conclave. I kind of liked it a little bit better than Anora. I liked Anora, but I would have been happy with Conclave or a Complete Unknown for that matter. So, all right, it is that time of the night where we have a text from Steady Eddie, who we should get going on this because we still have to check in on Adrian Brody, right?
Yeah.
What are we hearing from our sources at the Oscars? Is he still talking?
You know, they really want to play the music, but he shushed them for a fifth time.
Oh, my God. So. All right, we'll get to that. But first, we got to do Steady Eddie's text. He's in the 608. He's our pal Steady Eddie or Steadfast Edward. We'll see who he is tonight. He says, Pete, I agree with you. Timothy Chalamet's outfit was outrageous. What the heck was he thinking? And where is Ariana Grande going to wear that cuckoo nutty dress after Oscar night? Here's a hint in all caps. Nowhere. I much prefer your wardrobe selections, Pete. I am wearing one of my favorite shirts tonight. I didn't say that right. Like tonight, you're wearing your favorite brown bowling shirt that you purchased in 1992. False. Steady Eddie, I will address that at the end of your text. He says, it's comfortable, doesn't draw unwanted attention. I assume the paparazzi are leaving you alone. Yes, they are. It's a comfy, cozy old friend, and you are not wastefully using up the Earth's resources. And if you spill a little barbecue sauce on it, in all caps, who cares? Just rub it a little bit. It will blend right in and will be as good as new. You can't do it better than that, Pete. I can't really argue with that, Steady Eddie. He says, Pete and Conrad, thanks for keeping, in all caps, Nightlight shining bright. Well, thank you, Steady Eddie. Always fun to hear from you. Love reading your texts And he is Steady Eddie tonight, so he's keeping it real. He's got lots of street cred. I kind of just said that, but this might be one of my favorite shirts. Is that one of your favorite shirts you're wearing? What do you got there?
It's a sweatshirt.
Nike hoodie?
Yeah, Nike hoodie.
With the extra mile. You're not on camera, though, most of the time. You don't have to, not that I dress up, but I like to look presentable, right?
So what year did you purchase it from?
I got this like a year and a half ago, and I got it from a secondhand store because, you know what? I heard recently about textiles, like all the extra stuff that we buy and don't recycle, do recycle, whatever. So I like a store. There's a few of them around. What the heck is it called? It's right there on State Street. And they sell used clothing, and I love it. It is a chain. God, I'm totally blanking. But they have great recycled stuff. And what am I doing? I go in, I spend $9 on a shirt. I'm going to buy a new shirt, wear it twice anyway. So what the heck is the name of that store? It's driving me nuts now.
You're saying you don't know what year it is actually from. So it could be
from 1882, for all I know. I could see someone traipsing across the prairie in the shirt I'm wearing tonight, but no, it's probably, if I had to guess, I'd say this is a 2016, the 2016 model.
Okay.
From the 608. I love the music from Pirates of Penzance. Love Gilbert and Sullivan music. The restaurant on Washington Island is the Albatross. Yes. Who is that? Is that Terry? How did this person know that? Well done.
Yeah, that's great.
So I think Brian texted us that, right? He wanted to know what restaurant it was where you could see Laura Sawasco. So there you go, the Albatross. Terry might have mentioned that. That sounds familiar now that I think of it. All right, we got to check in on Adrian Brody. Let's see if his speech is still going on. It's been almost 24 hours. For the love of God, I hope he stopped, but we'll check right now.
I'm here once again to represent the lingering traumas and the repercussions of war and systematic oppression and of anti-Semitism and of racism and of othering. And I believe that I pray for a healthier and a happier and a more inclusive world. And I believe if the past can teach us anything, it's a reminder to not let hate go unchecked.
Is that Zelensky speaking, or is that...
Okay, I'll get out of here. I love you. I appreciate you all. Let's fight for what's right. Keep smiling, keep loving one another. And let's rebuild together. Thank you.
That's Adrian Brody. He was still talking.
He's still going.
Ragstock. That's the name of the store. Great store on State Street. I do buy a lot of retreads there. I mean, if I was going to buy a suit, like I go to a nice place, but you're just wearing a nice bowling shirt. Yeah, you never know when someone is going to challenge you to a bowling match. You got to be ready.
Good point.
I cannot stress that enough, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to Matt Miller for joining us tonight. And always fun to talk to Matt. Thank you to Mark Hansen with the UWSP Musical Theater Department. They're doing a great job there. I know that firsthand. And thank you to all your texts, and calls. It's been a lot of fun here on Nightlight, as usual. Yes, Anna from Madison helped out, too. She said, Pete, were you thinking about Ragstock? I was, Anna. That's what I love about Nightlight listeners. They come through. We went, got the lefty out of the bullpen. Anna stepped up and got the save. Thank you. Thank you all for your texts and calls. So much fun. On behalf of the lovable producer, Conrad. Oh, who do we have tomorrow night?
Oh, we have Craig Anthony Knitt.
Oh, Green Bay filmmaker Craig Anthony Knitt and Appleton-based comedian John Egan will be here.
Yes.
A lot of fun tomorrow night. Make sure you don't miss that show, folks. Also, 608 Pete, love the running Adrian Brody bit. Thank you so much. Thanks all. We'll see you tomorrow night. Good night, Wisconsin.